Former mommy blogger Ruby Franke and her co-defendant Jodi Hildebrandt have been sentenced to prison for their child abuse case. Just how much time did they get? Let's talk about it. How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about former mommy blogger of the 8 Passengers YouTube channel, Ruby Franke, being sentenced to 30 years in prison for her child abuse case. Now, if you guys don't know who she is, or you need a quick refresher, let's go back. Now, Ruby Franke purported herself to be a great mom, having all these kids. I believe it was 6 children, and her and the husband, that was 8. That was the 8 Passengers. She had a lot of content, a lot of subscribers, very popular. But the reality of what was happening behind the camera, away from all the filters and the editing, was a house of horrors. She was arrested alongside her co-defendant, Jodi Hildebrandt, because of the conditions she had her children living in. You're talking about these kids were caged up, tied up. They were punished by being sent outside in the very hot Utah desert sun for hours at a time during the summer. It was a whole big crazy mess. And now she has finally been sentenced to prison, and she has a very long time. And I hope she does every single year of that. Now, before we get into the updated clip, let's go back a little bit to look at the body cam footage from when the children were recovered and rescued from the home. And of course, I will link to both of these in the description. If you're on IG, visit a link in the bio, go to the corresponding article on the website. But without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
We had a agency assist out of St. George in Springville.
On August 30th, American Fork police responding to the home of Pam Botcher to try and locate 2 of Ruby Franke's children the day Ruby and Jodi Hildebrandt were taken into custody in southern Utah.
Now you see the environment here, okay? This is like Arizona, Colorado.
Jodi Hildebrandt were
it's desert. So you're out here all day in the summertime as punishment. That is very damaging to these kids. You're talking about kids 8, 9, 10 years old, maybe even younger.
Were taken into custody in southern Utah.
Just put your hands in front of you, okay? Just going to place you temporarily under arrest, okay?
In 2 body camera videos obtained by 2 News, officers placed Botcher in handcuffs and took her to the back of a patrol car and waited for Springville police to arrive.
There's a warrant to take them into state custody. A couple of them are found, again, malnourished and bound. Malnourished and bound. They're talking about the children now. And again, this is older video from 4 months ago. This is back in October 18th. We're going to get to the updated video in just one moment. Y'all hang tight.
In the meantime, officers tried to get a better understanding of the situation, which spans from Utah County to Washington County.
Is Ruby Franke's daughter.
Okay.
She's a friend of ours. She comes over and helps me every once in a while to do cleaning and stuff.
Because she knows her mom.
Now, who's doing the cleaning? Ruby Franke or the daughters? Do we have slave labor going on? Like, what is really happening? Are we going backward in time? I don't really understand the situation, but let's keep on going.
He's very good friends with her. Has known her for a long, long time.
Pam was handcuffed for roughly 50 minutes. That's when Springville police officers started speaking with her about the Franke children.
So my friend called me and she said, hey, I have a family emergency. I'm going to St. George.
A DCFS worker arrives as officers try to clarify a time frame from when Ruby Franke called Pam and apparently told her where she could find the 2 children spread across Utah County.
Ruby contacted you around noon and said that they had an
Around it. I don't know if that's exactly.
Minutes later, the DCFS worker asks how Pam knows the family, to which she confirmed our reporting about how Ruby, Jodi Hildebrandt, and Pam all worked through Jodi's business.
How did you start to know the family? How did you meet?
The Franke family?
Yeah.
Through a program called Connections.
Okay.
It's a kind of a life skills type of thing.
I'll leave that right there because there's more to it. But the main thing is that Jodi Hildebrandt had a company, and I think Ruby Franke was in with her. Jodi Hildebrandt was some kind of therapist, life coach type person. And the kids, when they were found, I believe were living at Jodi's home. Now, Ruby Franke was married, but I think there was an estrangement. Now, I don't know why the children did not go with the husband, and I don't know if the abuse was taking place when the husband was there. I would presume that is not what's going on because he was not charged in this, from what I know. from what I have been able to read, it's been Jodi Hildebrandt and Ruby Franke who have been hit with, convicted of, and sentenced in the child abuse situation. All right. Now let's go to the updated clip here. This is from today, 2 hours ago. All right. On CBS News. Check it out.
A Utah mother who once offered parenting advice on her popular YouTube channel will spend up to 30 years in prison for child abuse. A judge sentenced Ruby Franke yesterday after she admitted to abusing her children.
Now, what they said, up to 30 years, maybe she could come home earlier than the 30, depending on a few factors. I'm not quite sure if good behavior works here. I don't really know how that would actually happen. But I hope she spends every single day of that 30 years behind bars, because this is the appropriate sentence. Some would say, oh, well, it's too much, it's over the top. Nah, when you're torturing children, I have no sympathy for you. You should get the rope, but I don't want to go too far, so I digress.
Franke's business partner, Jodi Hildebrandt, received the very same sentence. National correspondent Jerika Duncan has more.
So in case I kind of was interrupting by talking a little bit too much over them, Jodi Hildebrandt got the same sentence, 30 years. So they both are doing 30.
To my babies, my 6 little chicks.
I'm not buying the tears. You could go ahead and save it. You might as well just be stone cold, straight face. Okay, there's no need for the tears. I'm not buying it. Actually, I'm kind of disgusted by the tears because I feel like you're trying to manipulate me emotionally, and I don't like that from a convicted child abuser. Not just, a spanking or something like that. I'm talking about things that would be considered war crimes if you did it overseas.
You're a part of me.
With her lawyer by her side, Ruby Franke broke down as she apologized to her 6 children.
I will never stop crying for hurting your tender souls. You're so precious to me. I'm sorry.
Welcome back to Connections. I'm Ruby Franke.
The once popular.
I told the kids, I said, I'm not even going to let you eat breakfast until you get your chores done.
And she's saying it right there, using food as a weapon. That's not how you discipline children, to say, well, you can't eat unless you do this, because you have to be able to eat to live. You can't use that as a weapon. And there she is, just laughing about it, and uploading this evidence of herself talking about abusing her children right on social media.
Breakfast until you get your chores done.
And sometimes controversial parenting influencer was sentenced Tuesday to up to 30 years in prison after pleading guilty to 4 counts of aggravated child abuse.
He's obviously covered in wounds.
Franke's brutal approach to parenting came to light last August when her 12-year-old son escaped to a neighbor's house begging for help. Authorities said he was malnourished, covered in wounds, and bound with duct tape. In her plea deal, the 42-year-old admitted to kicking her son while wearing boots, holding his head underwater, and covering his mouth and nose with her hands.
The abuse was horrific, and it would have been apparent to anybody that would have seen the kids that something was wrong here.
Franke claims she had been manipulated by her business partner, Jodi Hildebrandt, a former mental health counselor who pleaded guilty to child abuse and also received up to 30 years.
So you're trying to throw her under the bus because you are getting jammed up. Well, at the end of the day, you guys are both adults and you are in charge of children. It's your responsibility to take care of the kids. If you don't do it, then it's your fault. You can't blame some other adult for what you did not do, or for what you did do, which was starving the children, duct taping the children, making them stand outside in the hot southern Utah desert climate in the summertime for punishment. Okay, you did that. Your kids escaped because you were subjecting them to a house of horrors. It's your fault, not some other adult. It's you that did it.
I sincerely love these children. I desire for them to heal physically and emotionally.
It will now be up to the Utah Board of Pardons and Parole to determine the actual time served.
Ruby Franke, I don't think she has good grounds for appeal because she did plead guilty, and this is well within the judge's discretion.
Yeah, it's pretty much a wrap. I mean, I don't want to see her come home ever again. I'm not quite sure how old she is. I'm sure she's probably 40s by now, if not 30s, but so if she's let's say she's 40 years old, right? And she's going to do every day at 30. She's not going to come home until she's well into her 70s, or at least right at 70. So yeah, I think that's the appropriate sentence, 30 years for sure, for torturing her 6 children. I mean, really, like I said, I would go a little bit above and beyond. I might even do something kind of heinous myself if I had the ability to issue sentences and we lived in a different kind of place. But for the USA right now, 30 years, definitely appropriate. Same thing for the friend Jodi Hildebrandt. For treating children that way, I have zero sympathy. I'm not trying to hear your tears. I'm not trying to hear, oh, I love these kids. If you love these kids, I can't tell. And I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? What's your take on the sentencing here? 30 years for both Jodi Hildebrandt and Ruby Franke. Is it too much, too little? Would you want a different kind of sentence aside from just prison time? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments below. You guys know where I'm at. I'm glad that some justice was served here. These people are really monsters. They treated these kids worse than you would be if you were a prisoner of war in many parts of the world. As I said, the things that they did to these kids, the starvation, these things would get you sent to like some international courts and be tried for war crimes. This was really heinous. So 30 years, I'm glad that was a sentence. And as I said, I'll repeat myself one last time. I hope they do every single day of their sentence. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.